I'm here with Mel Kiper. Mel, what's going to be the biggest storyline of the night?
Ashley, I think it's the quarterbacks again, and I think it's where the quarterbacks come off the board and how many teams that need a quarterback actually take one. I would start with Houston, Jacksonville, you think about Cleveland, you think about where Tampa Bay is, Minnesota. You know, all these teams could take a quarterback, and Oakland in that group, how many actually do, and who do they take at the end of the day? Really day two, because the second and third round is where some of these quarterbacks are going to come off the board, and how these teams fill that void or improve significantly at that position is going to shape the NFL next year. And then you get into, after that, Cleveland and St. Louis. They're the two storylines because they're trying to jump up, and they have all this ammunition, all these picks, and they've done a good job building pieces of that football team. Les Snead, certainly in St. Louis, did a great job because of the RG3 trade. Can they finish it off? Is Bradford the quarterback? Is Johnny Manziel the quarterback in St. Louis? Who ends up in Cleveland? Brian Hoyer's coming off an injury. I think that's going to catapult one of those two or maybe both those teams into playoff contention based on what happens in this draft.
Who is going to be the first quarterback off the board, in your opinion?
I'd say Johnny Manziel, but where 4 to Cleveland? You hear maybe that won't happen. And you hear 7 to Tampa Bay because Dallas and Jerry Jones going to see him at 16. I don't think so, but hey, it could happen. Could St. Louis see him at 13? I think ultimately he still goes in the top 8. Then we have to see where Blake Bortles comes off the board. You have to see exactly where Teddy Bridgewater is. Cleveland at 26 going to look at Bridgewater. Where does Derek Carr go? Does he even fall out of the first round entirely? You have Arizona at 20. They could take Bortles or Carr at 20 as the heir apparent to Carson Palmer, who's 34 years of age. So you could end up really with Manziel, Bortles or Carr, and then Bridgewater, or just 1 or 2. It could be 1 or 4. Really, the quarterback mystery continues even a night before the draft.
Can you remember the last time there was this much uncertainty about where the quarterbacks were going to go in the draft?
No, really don't. I mean, Boomer Esiason was my first draft, and I had him going at the Cincinnati in the top 10, then Cincinnati with the second pick, Cincinnati with the third pick, and Cincinnati didn't take him with any of the 3 picks, and they took him in the second round. And at that point, I'm sitting there, maybe Cincinnati just doesn't like this guy. You know, he passed on him 3 times, and Boomer was wondering, did they hate me? Thought Sam Weish liked me, but at the end of the day, Cincinnati did take him, you would say kind of as an afterthought, with their 4th pick, which was in the second round. 3 first-round picks, they passed on him. None of those 3 were great players. 2 were disappointments, and here we are with Boomer Esiason, a real good quarterback in the NFL. So sometimes it doesn't matter if you drop, it's do you get with the right team, and that's going to be something after the draft we can all figure out pretty accurately at that point.
Are you exhausted? I mean, are you ready for the draft, man? You've been ready for this draft for the last year. I mean, you've done 46 mock drafts. Can I get the 47th copy, Mel?
We're fired up here, behind the scenes.
John's done more work on these players than anybody. I mean, he is a tireless worker. He spends all his time down there at the FFCA, and they break down all these players. When we went down there to Tampa with Coach Gruden, and it's amazing. He's got reports that you won't hear about on the draft. You won't see them all or hear them all, but his scouting reports are as detailed and thorough as anybody in the NFL. So
nobody knows who the 46th ranked wide receiver was in 1978 but Mel Kiper. You are.
I really don't, John, but that's okay if you believe I do. But anyway, getting back to the draft, it is the most unpredictable and probably the most anticipated in my 36 years of covering drafts. Never before has there been a draft where you had this much uncertainty, high-profile players like Johnny Manziel, Jadeveon Clowney, and a host of others. Not any draft where you've had 102 underclassmen. Call it 98, call it 102. Bottom line is it's not 53 like it was 5 years ago. So you go from 53 underclassmen to roughly 100, 102. That's an amazing jump, and that's what has really allowed this draft to really take off.
Could be a fun night. We're fired up.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.